Everyone, my name is Christine Chen, Executive Director and founder of Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote. AAPI Vote is really proud to be able to host our 6th annual Congressional Reception for all of you. This is really the one time where we're able to get so many AAPI interns from across sectors to come together, to meet one another, and to also meet and realize the growing number of AAPI congressional members that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and skip over a little bit about our introductions and our host committee. I will do that later, just because in terms of the time constraints. At this point, I want to go ahead and bring up one of our interns here who will actually go ahead and do the first introduction of our first member. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Brayden Yao. I use he and his pronouns, and I am an OCA Asian Pacific American Advocates intern this summer in Congresswoman Barbara Lee's office. I graduated in May from Washington University in St. Louis, and I grew up in Edison, New Jersey. I'm also very proud to represent my state as a 2022 Truman Scholar, 19 years after Congressman Kim received that scholarship in 2003. I'm so excited to be introducing you all to Representative Andy Kim tonight. Congressman Andy Kim represents New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. First elected in 2018, he was New Jersey's first Asian American representative and the 2nd Korean American congressional member in the 1st Democrat. He serves on the Committee of Armed Services, Committee on Small Business, Committee on Foreign Affairs, and Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party. He is a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, the Future Forum, and the Congressional Dads Caucus. Prior to his career in Congress, Congressman Kim worked at USAID, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the White House National Security Council. Please give a big round of applause for Congressman Andy Kim.
Hi, good evening, everyone. How are you? I feel so bad. I made you stop talking to each other and sit back down, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you. I'm the warm-up act for Judy Chu, so give me just a few minutes of your time before you can hear from such a distinguished leader. But look, what I wanted to do is come around and just say thank you for signing up for these internships, signing up for this type of work. It's so important now more than ever to have people who are thinking about service in different ways, whether that's in the government or nonprofits or others. I've been thinking about it because, it was 19 years ago when I first showed up into DC for an internship. It was my first time ever doing an internship in the government. I was an intern at USAID. And I remember getting off the train at Union Station and just kind of coming out, and you can see the Capitol right outside the doors, and I just kind of realized that I knew nobody in this town. 0 people in this town, and it was very nerve-wracking. I had never worked in government before. I'm not from a family that had worked in government or really knew what that was. So it was a lot of new experiences, but it was one that was so rewarding. That idea of service, that idea of agency is so important. The way I sort of described it over the course of my career, leading up to the moment, I started USAID, had then the opportunity to be a fellow, a graduate school fellow here at the Senate. Actually, I was in this building. Then joined up at the State Department, the Pentagon. I've been able to see this from a couple different angles. But still, in 2017, decided that my path and my career in public service wasn't over, and that I decided to step up and run for Congress. And the singular question that I asked myself at every single turn, every single job that I thought about doing was this question of, where can I be of most impact? What can I do to be of most impact to this country, to try to push forward on the issues that I want to deal with? And when it came to Congress, I'll tell you, it was a wild experience. I'm not somebody who ever thought about running for office before. And I remember when I first started to run for Congress in this district that I represent now, a lot of people told me that I was crazy. You know, my district that I represent, it was 85% white, less than 3% Asian. It was a district that voted for Trump, and I was a Democrat. I was taking on an incumbent that was one of the wealthiest members of Congress, spent $5 million in the previous election, and I was a former government employee that never earned a six-figure salary in my life. And a lot of people told me this was crazy. There's no way you're going to do this. But what I thought about was this idea that I'm not going to make assumptions that someone else is going to fight my fights for me. I'm not going to assume that someone else will just stand up and take on the challenges that I'm concerned about. So I decided that I would run for Congress. I decided that I wasn't going to let other people tell me what I am or am not capable of accomplishing simply because of the color of my skin and my last name. And that's understanding that I have every bit as much right to be a representative, to be a public servant in this country as anybody else. And I hope you take that away from your experience here. That we recognize that we have the kind of agency within each of us to step up. And that's something that I hope you get as sort of a deep fire passion over the course of your time here. Because I'll tell you that it has been the honor of my lifetime to be able to serve. And I hope that I have a chance to be able to serve my country for the rest of my life. I will die a happy man if I can do that. And now it takes on an even greater level of intensity because I now got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old back at home. 2 little boys, troublemakers. They both just graduated from kindergarten and 2nd grade today. So can we just give them a And sure, look, I wish I was with them. As much as I love you all, I'll be honest with you. I wish I was there to pick my kids up from school for their last day of the school year. It's tough. It's tough doing these jobs. Sometimes it takes you away from your family, takes you away from other priorities that you have. But when we think about it, I think about something my parents told me. They said service isn't just a job, it's a way of life. It's not just something you do 9 to 5. What I'm doing here isn't just about, a line on my resume. So while I'll tell you, yes, I wish I was there to pick my kids up, I wish I was there to tuck them into bed tonight. But the way I sort of describe it to myself is I might not be the tuck them into bed every night kind of dad, but I am the fight for their future kind of dad. That what I'm trying to do here is about that. What I'm trying to do here is about what kind of America are my kids going to grow up in? What kind of America are we going to be able to continue on? What kind of America did my parents 50 years ago to this year decide to come to this country for? And is that America that inspired my family to come here still an America of equality, of justice, that I want to raise my kids in? And I'm not going to assume that that's just going to come about. We can't assume that this is just going to happen, that America is just on a teleological path towards justice. If you want to see it happen, the question I ask you right now is, what are you going to do about it? And yes, you took this internship, you took this opportunity to come together today. That's great. But what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do next month? What are you going to do in the fall? What are you going to do next year? So no pressure. Just don't screw it up for my kids, okay? No, look, I am really proud of you for stepping up. I hope to be a resource to you. If there's ever anything I can do, my office can be of any help, please let me know. Because there's nothing more important than just making sure that we are living the kind of lives we will. And I think about, I'll leave you with just this last part. My boss at the State Department, when I first started up there, he had this line that I just always think about. He said, you don't have good government unless you have good people working in government. I just ask you to think about it. Because I know you watch the news, you go online, and it looks like a mess. And Judy and I will tell you it's a mess. But it doesn't have to be that way. It is what we make of it. Government and how this country works, it's not just a giant machine with cogs and wheels that are just operating on its own. It's the people. It's me, Judy, you, whether you're in government or outside of government, trying to work to be able to shape the government, we're all in the same boat. We need champions both inside and outside of government, fighting together for common cause. And I hope to be able to work with you and fight with you. Thanks, everyone.
Senator Kim, for your remarks. My name is Eileen Lachenko, and I'm a rising senior at Scripps College in Southern California. I'm from Los Angeles, and this summer I'm interning at Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote, and I'm so excited to be introducing Congresswoman Judy Chu, who is from my own congressional district. Congresswoman Judy Chu represents California's 28th congressional district in the U.S. House of Representatives. In 2009, she became the first Chinese American woman to be elected to Congress. And before serving in Congress, Representative Chu was chair of the California Board of Equalization and was elected to the California State Assembly. In the House, she serves on the Ways and Means Committee and the Small Business Committee. Congresswoman Chu continues to be a champion for the AAPI community and currently serves as the chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. Under her leadership, AAPI has seen significant membership growth. Please give a warm welcome for Congresswoman Judy Chu.
Well, hello, APIA interns. I'm Congressmember Jill Chu, and I'm from California's 28th district in Southern California, and I'm chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or what we call AAPI. And I tell you, there's nothing more exciting than looking out and seeing 300 young people ready to get involved, ready to see what happens here on Capitol Hill, ready to learn about government and politics. And of course, I really have to thank APIA Vote and all the host organizations who combined forces to put tonight's reception together. And they're doing it because they want to encourage all of you to make the future of our country your priority. To take the leadership in shaping what happens in the future. Well, let me say that I never thought I would be an elected official because I never saw anybody like me in this position when I was growing up. But then I was living in the city of Monterey Park in California, and there was an ugly anti-immigrant English-only movement. You see, many new immigrants were moving in, and the old residents had a hard time with it. So they started lobbying for English-only on the signs in the city, only English books in the library. But the last straw was when they passed a resolution in the city council saying that only English should be spoken in the city. Well, that was too much for us. And so we got together, a multi-ethnic group of us. We got thousands of signatures on petitions, and we got that resolution overturned. But then it became so apparent that the city council didn't represent the city that I decided to run for the city council. And I did win, and I served for 13 years working to bring people together and serving as mayor 3 times. And I went on to the California State Assembly, and then one day, an incredible thing happened. The congressional seat opened up. I ran for it and won, and the most amazing thing was the next day after I won, when President Obama called me from the White House to congratulate me on becoming the first Chinese American woman elected to Congress in history. Well, I tell you, my election and the elections of so many others is a sea change. You know, there was a time when AAPIs were so invisible on Capitol Hill that if you saw someone walking down the hall who was Asian, you just had to turn around and look. But thank goodness that's no longer the case today. In this Congress, we have a record 21 AAPI members of Congress, which is the highest number in history. And we also encourage other members of Congress with large AAPI populations to join CAPAC. And so now we have a total of 74 members of Congress in CAPAC advocating for our communities all across the nation. And like so many of our KPAC members, they are all historic firsts. For instance, we have 2 Asian American women in the U.S. Senate, Mazie Hirono and Tammy Duckworth. And not only that, we have trailblazing members like Mark Takano, who is the ranking member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. It's a big deal when he was formerly the chair, now a Democratic ranking member. But he's also a very proud Gaysian. Yes, the first openly gay person of color to serve in Congress. And gay and Asian, obviously. And Grace May, she's the first Asian American ever elected to represent New York in Congress. Pramila Jayapal, the first South Asian woman elected to the House of Representatives. And of course, Ann Kim, our first Korean American in over 20 years to serve in Congress. And then, of course, the person who wrote Breaking Barriers, our former KPAC member Kamala Harris, who, as a Black and Asian American woman, became the Vice President of this United States. And I tell you, it makes a difference when you have representation, when you have a seat at the table. When anti-Asian hate was reaching its zenith because of the words that President Trump was using, calling COVID-19 the China virus and Kung flu, there were 11,500 anti-Asian hate crimes and incidents. And so we knew we in KPAC had to do something. We did press conferences, hearings, we did many statements, and finally, we did legislation that passed the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which is the first major hate crimes legislation to pass in 30 years. And then it became apparent that far too many people in this country do not know enough about AAPIs. And so we got a bill passed creating a commission to study the creation of a National Smithsonian Museum of AAPI history and culture. And that's to prove that AAPI history is American history. But these wins go beyond the work of Congress, and we can only build upon them when all of our communities have seats at the table. And that is why we need to continue to build our public service pipeline and make sure that AA and HBIs are represented at all levels and in all sectors of government, from the White House to the halls of Congress, from nonprofits to government relations groups. And that's why I'm so grateful for all the organizations represented here, providing fellowships and internships to ensure that young people like you are engaged. So with each new summer internship class, I'm hopeful that we will see more barriers broken. Because although many of us broke barriers when we were first elected, we know that we have to have a pipeline that will ensure that others follow in our footsteps and break new barriers. So we're counting on you. You are our leaders of tomorrow. You have the power to shape the future of our country. And whether you choose to pursue a career in public service, start your own business, or yes, maybe run for elected office yourself one day, each and every one of you will ensure that the AA and HBI community has a seat at the table. So I encourage you to take advantage of every opportunity, every experience that you can have this summer so you can learn more about what makes this country run. And I hope to see you out there on the pathway and being visible as we fight to make change for the better. So I hope that in hearing from our KPAC members today, you will see that the sky's the limit. Thank you and enjoy your internship this summer. Thank you, Congresswoman Judy Chu. You've always been a champion for our community, and I'm really looking forward to, we know that you inspired this crowd of 300 folks, and so who knows, they're going to be working for you and working and organizing, especially as we head into the 2023 local elections as well as the 2024 elections. So thank you so much. So at this time, what I'd like to also do is bring up Emilio Gonzalez. He's the Executive Director for Policy and Strategic Alliances for Verizon. This event would not have been made possible without the support of Verizon as well as Comcast. And so at this time, Emilio will provide a few remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have any prepared remarks, and Christine reminded me yesterday that I was to show up here, so I want to say two things, maybe three. First of all, I want to thank AAPI and Christine and her staff, because I've gotten to see up close what they do, and it is impactful. It matters, perhaps more than ever, and I'm a big believer that the future is not written. It is up to us to shape it and guide it. They are providing a key voice in what that future looks like, and I just want to say thank you. I also want to thank all of you. About 34 years ago, when I had dark hair, my first job was here on Capitol Hill. Different times, but it gave me a foundation and an appreciation of the complexity of what we deal with that stayed with me to this day. On a personal note, I really wanted to thank you for the following. I'm the father of 2 Asian daughters. They're young. I worry about them because I see what's going on and I don't like it. I, as a kid, fled with my mom and came here because things broke down. And there were only two sides. They did not like each other, and there was no common sense in the middle. Fortunately, we got to come here. You are a big part of making sure that the rights that are essential, whether it's the right to vote, the right to speech, the right to choose, it's going to be you all who are going to have to figure this out and guide it forward. So I want to say thank you. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming to DC. Thanks for raising your hand and saying you want to participate and be part of something which will be bigger than yourselves. When you have any doubt, and sometimes we do, listen, I have no idea of what was possible here. And I can tell you, a few years ago during COVID, when we saw what was going on with the AAPI patient hate incidents, I raised my voice and my hand at work, and I said, what are we going to do? And, we got a statement out of the CEO, but that wasn't enough. I said, what are we going to do about resources? And we wrote a couple of big checks to provide bystander training, toolkits, media support, media in kind. At first I was kind of scared about raising my voice, but now that when I'm done, I will look back on that as one of the times that I'm really glad I worked with the courage to do so. So again, thank you. Really appreciate you all being here. And thanks for your time.
Okay, as we get settled, and I believe Lori from Paul is going to be helping us do the next introduction. I just want to do a couple more housekeepings. First of all, I'd like to also thank Senator Tammy Duckworth for sponsoring this event by securing the space and her staff. In addition, there's a lot of folks have been talking about AAPI, but this really would not have been made possible without our host committee. So as I announce our host committee, if you could at least raise your hand, or if you make your way up here. We also like to thank our host committee of the Asian Pacific American Institute for Congressional Studies, APEX, staff. I know there's a lot of Apex interns here, right? The Association of Asian Pacific American Community Health Organizations. Oh, back there, Adam. Conference on Asian Pacific American Leadership. Council of Korean Americans. International Leadership Foundation. National Council of Asian Pacific Americans, with Greg. Oh, back there. Right. AAPI Advocates. And the Pacific American Legal Defense and Education Fund. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Lori Chan, an intern with Kapal.
All right, thank you so much, Christine, for those remarks. My name is Lori Chan, and I'm a rising senior at McGill University in Canada. This summer, I'm with the Center for Asian Pacific American Leadership, or CAPAL, and I'm interning with the United States Forest Service. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing you all to Congresswoman Jill Tokuda. Representative Jill Tokuda was elected for the first time as the state of Hawaii's 2nd District Representative in November of 2022. Prior to her election to the 118th Congress, Rep. Tokuda served as Hawaii State Senator from 2006 to 2018, where she chaired the Ways and Means, Education and Higher Education, Agriculture and Hawaiian, and Labor Committees. There, she also championed legislation that established Hawaii's first executive office on early learning and funded the Hawaii AAPI program, which provided access to health services and public schools, as well as legislation that allowed for foreign agricultural lands to be protected. Rep. Tokuda is a member of the Democratic Party, currently serving on the House Committee on Agriculture, the Committee on Armed Services, and Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic. She also serves as the Vice Chair for Communications for the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Freshman Representative for the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and Region 2. Please join me in welcoming her.
Well, aloha everyone. Do we have any Hawaii people in the room? Yay! Woo! Okay, what island are you from? Okay, what high school did you graduate from? Eli? Kalani, nice.
Right next to the line.
Oh, so Mitchell Times your principal. Very good. Okay, sorry. It's totally a Hawaii thing, by the way. Then when we run into another Hawaii person, we have to ask what high school you went. So, I'll get it. Yay, Hawaii's here. Thank you everyone for being here. I am just so impressed to see all of you in this room, and you're making all of us so very proud in all of the offices, the organizations, and departments that you're working in right now. I don't want to bore you or anything, but I will just tell you the first time I came to DC, I was in high school. So for some of you, is this the first time you've been in DC? Are you going to school? First time in DC? Living, working? Okay, there's a few hands that are somewhere very shy. But the first time I ever took a trip to the mainland, to the continent from Hawaii, I was 16 years old. I came with the close-up program. And I will tell you that I remember walking on the house floor, in one of the chambers, and just being so blown away by the history around me, by our government leaders. I remember putting my hand on the desk in one of the chambers and saying to myself, I'll be back. I'm going to be back here. It took me a long time to get back here, 30 years or so. But here's the thing that I also remember when I was walking around the halls of Congress in our United States Capitol. When I looked around at the faces of the people leading our country, when I looked around at the people working in the offices, I did not see myself. I did not see a government that reflected the diversity of the country that we lived in. I did not see AAPI faces staring back. Yes, the representation from Hawaii was largely AAPI, but Congress did not look like us. The people who worked for our congressional delegation did not look like us. So to see all of you sitting here, literally hundreds of interns on the Hill in our congressional offices, in our executive branch, in our nonprofit advocacy organizations, to see all of you here brings me so much hope and pride, because now this looks like America. For my two sons, if they look at all of you and they see you working hard, they will see themselves. And that is the very first step. The very first step to making sure that we're not just a representative democracy, but that we're also fighting for the things that matter. That, we're reflecting a culture that really is all about us. So thank you so much for what you do. You give me hope and inspiration, because I can tell you in the mid-90s when I first came to DC, there weren't that many AA and HPI individuals working in Congress. There were not that much AA and HPI members of Congress. You saw Judy Chu here earlier, I think Andy Kim was also here. We have an amazing amount of representatives now in Congress, but I will tell you we need more. So I do hope that amongst all of you interns here, that one day we will have many who will be joining us as colleagues in Congress, making sure that our viewpoints, our culture, our history, our rights are well represented right here in Washington, D.C. So thank you again for being here, for stepping up, for being involved, and more importantly, for everything that you will do going forward. And I will just say to you, good luck on this bingo. I'm not sure what the prize is, but I'm having a hard time figuring out which one I could actually help you with. I do have a Samsung. I am not a vegan, I'm sorry. Let's see. I could put the Hawaii one there for our Kalani graduate, but there's not many more that I could. Oh, I have campaign for GOTU door knocking experience. By the way, you should all try it. It's great exercise and it helps all of us a whole lot. So good luck with your bingo, good luck with the rest of your internship experience, and please know that you've got a strong advocate and friend. Over in the Longwood building in our office, we have actually a number of AA and HPI interns right now this summer, and proud to always have one each semester. I believe we have a APAC's fellow coming up, starting up hopefully very, very soon too. So thank you again to all organizations for making this possible. Thank you for standing up for us and standing by us, and I look forward to seeing you all in the DMV. Take care.
Thanks so much to Representative Tokuda. It's so nice to see our newest voice from Hawaii here, and we're all excited for her tenure here in Congress. I'm Bob Sakaniwa. I'm the Director of Policy and Advocacy at AAPI Vote, and tonight we're fortunate to have a room full of members of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Staff Association. And in a moment, we will be hearing from CAPASA's co-presidents. They'll tell us a little bit more about their association and why it's such an important caucus here. And they're also celebrating their 25th anniversary, so big kudos to them. So I mentioned Hill staffers are here throughout the room. There are also nonprofit policy folks here. There are also people from the administration, and basically anybody with a star is worth your time to go talk to and find out the ins and outs of DC through their perspective, because you won't get that kind of information anywhere else. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the CAPASA co-presidents. Since we're on the Senate side, I think I'll first introduce Catalina Tam, who is a key legislative aide and now Director of Nominations for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Prior to the Hill, she was a Fulbright Scholar and did that in Taiwan. After returning to the state, she worked on Representative Katie Porter's first congressional campaign as her Deputy Canvass Director, and moved to D.C. when the Congresswoman won. She's a UC Berkeley grad, getting her BA. I guess there's some Berkeley students here. And she's a proud Californian, hailing from Orange County. Maureen Ngo is now the digital director as well as Deputy Press Secretary for Congresswoman Doris Matsui. Prior to working in the House, she was on the digital organizing team for Biden-Harris 2020 and worked as a digital assistant for Senator Patty Murray. She's earned her MA at BYU and got a mass communication before that, mass communications degree before that from NYU, and it was in journalism as well as art history. She also hails from California, a little bit further south, San Diego. And without further ado, our co-presidents of AAPI.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to see all of you in this room today. I'm Catalina Tam. I am one of the co-presidents of CAPASA along with my good friend Mo. I'm also nominations director to Senate Majority Leader Schumer as my day job. It's a pleasure to be with all of you here today, and it's so wonderful to see so many of you interested in working in public service. We're here to talk a little bit more about CAPASA, which is the Congressional Asian Pacific American Staff Association, which is dedicated to providing professional development and resources for interns and staffers, lifting up AAPI voices, and advocating for diversity and representation at all levels on Capitol Hill. We're all here because someone believed in us, and because someone helped us get to where we are today. Here at CAPASA, we hope to build a pipeline for AAPI staffers in places like Capitol Hill, because we deserve to be in places where decisions are being made and representation matters. There are CAPASA members here tonight who are happy to chat with you after. If you could raise your hands, they're probably all in the back. Yeah, okay, there's three, so, 4. Okay, that's good. So Mo and I were asked to provide a little bit of background on how we got to where we are today and why we decided to come to the Hill and work in public service. So I know that Bob listed a bunch of things that I had done, but I actually didn't get my first internship until my junior year of college because I had gone to community college and no one wanted to give me an internship. So I got a little bit of a late start. So I got my first internship on Capitol Hill, working in the district office, and then working in the Capitol Hill office. And that summer for me was really important because the office I was in was made up of primarily women of color and just people of color. And I had never known that this was the space, when you picture it, that this is where we would possibly be making like the biggest decisions that affect everyone in this country and in the world. And so this was really meaningful to me because it was the first time that I could see myself in an institution like this. I had never been really good at STEM. I was never really a woman in STEM, but something that I was good at was public speaking and reading and writing, and I really love to do that. So this just seemed like something that would be a natural step for me. But that was really important because representation matters, and because I saw people like that in places like this, that inspired me to want to work here. And so when I used to think to myself, could I work in a place like Capitol Hill, or do I belong here? I had to switch the question and start thinking, why not me? Why couldn't I belong here? And I think a lot of us face a lot of pressure when we tell our parents we want to work in public service or do something like that. We don't really understand what that is. When I told my parents I was going to do political science, they're like, what is the science? But I think that what's really important is that we should think about not what makes other people happy, but what makes you happy and what you're good at. And so instead of thinking, oh, doctor, lawyer, engineer, it's okay to do something different and be that person that when someone sees you, they think that, oh, that could be me one day, and pay it forward. So I have 2 words of advice. The first is to always be kind to everyone. I know in a place like public service or Capitol Hill, it seems like it can be very cutthroat, but I can guarantee you that being kind goes a long way and people will remember how you treated them. Whereas if you're an intern or you're a staffer, you probably will answer someone that you didn't know one day, and they will remember how you treated them. And secondly, don't compare yourself to others. We all have our own paths here, and it's okay to start later like I did, and you just never know. And so just continue to believe in yourself, and you will do the things that you should do and the things that you're meant to do. So if any of you are interested in coming to Capitol Hill, CAPASA's here, and we're waiting to help you. So let me introduce my co-president, Mo.
Thank you, Pat. I am really grateful to be here today. We just met last year, and it was really great to meet all of you and have so many people from our community intern here in DC. I have a very different background public service. So I was born and raised in San Diego. I went to NYU for journalism and art history. Contrary to my current job as Deputy Press Secretary and Digital Director for Congresswoman Matsui, I used to want to really write for Vogue and Elle, fashion and pop culture journalist. And for the record, I still love those things. I just also don't work in those fields. So I still read Vogue and I still read Elle, all those fun things. And so I studied journalism at NYU, and that was what I was going to do. And so I never thought that I would go into politics. And I was not studying poli-sci like most of all you probably are. And so I think the story I want to tell is the unorthodox way that I got to Congress. Yes, I at NYU, I studied journalism, interned at Us Weekly, and now my senior year at NYU, really fun. I had interview celebrities and parties and all that here on the hill. Very different worlds. And it was really great. I loved it. And then I went to grad school at NYU, and at the time I was a contributing writer for Teen Vogue, and so I was asked to write for the politics section. This is when Teen Vogue was becoming more political during the 2016 presidential election. And so it was really great to kind of be there at the vanguard of all this happening. I was really inspired to somehow bridge the dichotomy between how can I be a public servant, but how I also do fun stuff like social media and communications and press. My intern here at Hill, also a Hill Colonel, many of you will be after this. I interned for former Congresswoman Susan Davis, whose seat is now Sarah Jacobs, which is California's 53rd Congressional District, which is South San Diego. I loved it. I was a press intern, of course, and I came back here. And so for me, it was, I did not study poli-sci. I got my master's in communications. I literally have not taken a poli-sci class, maybe never will. And for me, my education was being here on the Hill and working in the office and helping out, the staff. And seeing what the member was that I was working for is doing. And so I guess my advice would be to all of you, that there's no one way to get to Capitol Hill. Again, I want to work for Vogue. And I still love fashion, I love shopping, but I'm also passionate about our country and helping all communities and being a public servant. And so it's not about studying the right things or doing the right internships. I think that just being yourself and following your dreams, following your passions, and if you can somehow make that into something that become public service, that's what you should do. Let me echo Kat and say that definitely be kind and be helpful to everyone, and always pay it forward. And in Kapasa, our number one thing is paying it forward. There's so many people ahead of us who pave the way that we walk on now in terms of being an AAPI staffer on the Hill. And so be yourself, you don't have to study poli-sci, you go to the Hill, and be kind and help others and pay it forward. In Kapasa, we actually have a lot of great things coming up, so for all of you who are interning here on the Hill, we'd love to see you at Kapasa events. You can talk to us if you want to join Kapasa and sign up for the newsletter and follow us on social media. We have an excellent mentorship program that we're doing this summer that will include a speaker series. I included people from the White House, from senior staff, from outside of the Hill. And so if you join our mentorship program, we'll also have more info about soon this summer. You'll get access to all of that. And so we'd love to see you there. We're really excited. It's something we want to do. And when we became co-presidents, we're really excited to do that. We have an excellent professional development chair and membership chair who are just spearheading everything. They're doing a great job. So we also love all of you to be a part of that. We're interning on the Hill. And we're so grateful to have all of you here. And we're so grateful just to see so many people who want to be public servants in our community. It really just it's such a different time when when we were interns and just seeing the growth and how many people are here today. So thank you.
So what we're going to do, because we need to wait for Congresswoman Meng and Senator Bruno, they're both in committee right now. So we're going to go back to our mixer, but before we do that, we want to go ahead and bring up some of our Hill staff, as well as former Hill staff, Ben, Greg, a few of you guys back there as well. You could come on up, so that way that you can each introduce yourself, what you do really quickly, And so that way, everyone in the audience has an idea of who they should talk to if they're curious about your careers or the type of work that you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Casey Lee. I'm the policy advisor for the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, which is chaired by Congresswoman Judy Chu, who you all just heard from. I just wanted to reiterate, you should feel free to come up to any of us and talk to us about, your interests and your ambitions, and we're certainly here to support you any step of the way, whether you are a Hill intern or not. We are here to be your cheerleaders. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hey everyone, my name is Tony Tran. I'm a senior legislative assistant for Congressman Nancy Farrakhan, who represents California 44th District. My boss is on the Energy, Commerce, and Health Subcommittee, so I should do her healthcare workforce and healthcare policy. So if anyone's interested in that and want to learn more about the intersection of the sciences and healthcare and kind of public service, let me know. Also, if you folks here were considering the media track of what are interested in policy, I also straddled that issue, and I can chat more about that as well. So.
Hi everybody, my name is Jill Tokuda. I'm a legislative assistant for Congressman Fletcher in Houston, Texas. I see some impacts of interns out here, as well as a couple other interns from a lot of different organizations. I guess the only thing I'll say is, summer is this magical time where a lot of different interns and fellows are in DC, and offices know that, and so they'll be hosting events and receptions, and I encourage you to go out to all of that and make sure that you connect and make friends, because I feel like the folks that you see in this room are the spaces that you're going to keep on seeing as you continue your journeys on and off the hill. Also making a plug for staff associations, and so Smo and Kat said, Kapasa is a good one. If you are here, you can join the Congressional Staff Association, and feel free to reach out with any questions.
Alright, everybody, my name is Justin. I work for the House Democratic Caucus Chairman from the great state of California. So I'm the House Chair for the Congressional American Staff Association. I'm so happy to see you here today.
I kind of feel like this is like a pageant. But hey everybody, my name is Greg Gordon. I'm the National Director of the National Council of Asian Pacific Americans, and we are the big umbrella coalition of all the national Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific other civil rights organizations in the country. In my previous life, I worked on the Hill a long time ago. I worked for Congressman Allen in Houston, Texas, and I was chief staff. And I know we hope from Linda soon. Back in the day, there weren't that many of us. I think there were like 5 Asian American chief staffs back then, and now there's like, I don't know, like 20. It's awesome. But I guess I'm supposed to kill some time, so let me kill a little bit of time. I do want to recognize, though, with both Adam, Christine, and a number of other folks here, and CAPA, again, this umbrella coalition of all national AAPI groups. This is the brain trust of all the groups that are doing work to advocate, to talk to you, and talk to your colleagues here on the Hill. And what I want to say is, you're here in DC, you're doing the work, you're figuring out is this the place you want to be. We hope you stay, right? Because we need more of you. We need more of you to care truly about advancing our communities and interests. And the only way we do this is with groups like ours, but also folks like you. You're interns right now, which will climb. And if you stick it out and you're running, you stick together, you will make it. And you will be in positions later on to make decisions and go work with groups like ours to help advance the agenda for the whole community. So congratulations on making it here. Best of luck in your internship experience, and please feel free to reach out because you're very much a part of the family now here in DC. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Adam Carpolito. I'm the Director of Policy and Advocacy with the Association of Asian Pacific Community Health Organizations, or APTRO. We represent federally qualified health centers and other healthcare providers that serve Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders throughout the country. I'm also a co-chair of the CAPA Health Committee, and in my former life, I was chief of staff to Congresswoman Madeline Regalia, who's the Guam delegate to the House of Representatives. And I just want to echo what Greg was saying. All of you here have such a unique opportunity to walk the halls of Congress, Congress, to work in the administration, to work for a nonprofit or other advocacy organizations. And just a small number of people have that opportunity. So I really encourage you to make the most use of the internship that you have. Talk to staffers, talk to your bosses, talk to other organizations, and talk to your fellow interns. And really try to experience everything that DC has to offer. Back when I was a chief, I used to tell interns that if you are not learning something during your internship, if you are not contributing something during your internship, and if you're not having fun during your internship, you're not doing it right. This city has so much to offer, and we really hope that you will reach out to us who have been in your shoes before. I started as an intern and made my way up, up the legislative and communication ladder on the Hill, and we really hope that to see more of you in these spaces for many years to come. So congratulations on your internship. I hope you make the most use of it while you're here, and please have fun while you're doing it.
Hi everybody, I'm Ben Wu. I'll wait for Christine and Bob to give me the hook if we see Congressman Newton where anybody's in the house crossing over. But I just want to say thank you. Christine asked me to come up and just to say a few words. I have been on the Hill a long time. Greg mentioned it was a long time ago for him. Well, and it was many moons before that. But I love being on the Hill. I thought I left to go to the Hill to join Bush 43 in the presidential administration. And then subsequently, in addition to working in presidential administrations, I worked with gubernatorial administrations as well. And I always thought that I was going to come back to the Hill, so much so that I never gave up my congressional credit union account. And you really don't need to. It's a great account. It's also, they give great rates each day. So my plug to the board for the credit union. But for Christine and for Bob, thank you for putting this together. It's so great to see all of you who have spent or are spending the summer here and then potentially beyond as you pursue your professional careers to work on the Hill. So Congressman Chu said that there were not very many members of Congress like her, and there were not many staff members when I first came to the Hill as well too. And so to see all of you now and have you populate this institution and also bring your experience and also your background is so wonderful. Christine asked me to talk a little bit about my professional background. I came to the Hill out of law school from working for Congressional. For those of you from Maryland, okay. Connor, there you go. Hey, got another Montgomery County in here. But if you any other Montgomery County folks are from Maryland, I worked for Congressional, who was a hometown member in District 8, which is now represented by Congressman Raskin. And I also worked on a committee as well, and had a chance to work closely with Bob. And for the Hill, this is a great place to be able to not just pursue your professional interests, but also to meet and network with folks within the Asian American community that's here in Washington. So, okay. Well, thank you again to Christine and Bob and AAPI for putting this all together. So, enjoy your semester here and have a good time.
Okay, we have one also a former staffer, and also we wanted to introduce her as Linda Shin, Vice President of Federal Governmental Affairs at Comcast. Comcast, as I noted earlier, is also one of our sponsors. But we also want to enter, because she was also a former Hill staffer, a former chief of staff, to also provide some remarks. So the whole idea is, now that you know all these folks, after Linda, we're going to have this mixer, so that way you can identify and talk to folks as well as continue on with your bingo, and then we will interrupt you once the other members come.
Hi guys, how are you? Hello. As Christine mentioned, my name is Linda Shin. I'm with Comcast and NBC Universal, and we're so excited to sponsor the event. Sorry, camera is right there. And I'm like, all right. Anyways, we're really excited is to get you all together. I was a intern too back in the day on the Hill. I interned for former Congresswoman Jane Norman from California in my last semester of college. And let's just say I moved back for 2 weeks to walk during my graduation, then I came straight back. So I've been here for some time. Let's not get into how old I am. But I really wish that I had a community like this when I was an intern, because as Greg and Adam and others mentioned, there weren't that many people who looked like us when I was on the Hill, especially during the early days of my career. So, as Greg said, we encourage you to stay within the DC family. Come back after you graduate, or if you've graduated, reach out to all the lovely people who came up and introduced themselves, who can help make introductions for different jobs that are available, or if you have members or organizations that you have questions about. There's so much exciting work here to be done in DC, and that's what's kept me here. So, as Christine mentioned, I used to also be a chief of staff. I used to be chief of staff to Congresswoman Judy Chu. I got to work on a lot of exciting things with her and with my former boss, and I think it's the impact on policy making that keeps me here. I got to work on the Affordable Care Act at a pretty young age. That may age me because you all might have been in elementary school when that bill passed, but you still see the long-term lasting effects today with Judy and her, and her former and current team. We worked really hard to uplift the AAPI representation and presence, particularly here in DC and throughout the country, and working with leaders like Christine and Bob and others. We want to see that work continue, and that really depends on you all, the next generation. So please find a way to stay if you can, and yes, because you never know where your career might take you. I returned to Comcast about 4 months ago, but before that I was over at the White House. I was working for the president over at the Office of Presidential Personnel, and I had so much fun giving out presidential appointments to people who look like us. I'm sure my boss said would be like, you were doing what? But, that me being there and my other colleagues being there, especially those of us from the Asian American Pacific Islander community, we ended up building the most diverse administration in history. So that's some of the things that you can work on and you can accomplish if you continue to grow here in DC. So let me just give you 3 quick tips that I found helpful as an intern. But if it's not going to work for you, don't worry about it. So, number 1, fill in the gaps. Don't be shy about volunteering for the smallest task in your office. I volunteered to wash the dishes because my boss liked to host people and use fine china in the office when she did that. I volunteered to start the prep memos. I volunteered to make copies. And at the end of the day, because I volunteered to do the little things, it was the chief of staff who noticed me and ended up offering me the staff assistant job as the former staff assistant was leaving the job. 2, make your presence known. This is a small thing, but I think those of us who are also chiefs on the Hill will find this valuable, or as valuable advice. Say hello and goodbye when you leave, right, in the office each day. I don't know why at that point in my life, but I made it a point to say goodbye to my chief before I left each day, and that was another reason why he remembered my name. There are so many of you that rotate in and out of DC every single semester, right? So sometimes the names fade away, but if you want to be remembered, just saying a simple hello or goodbye goes a long way. Because I can tell that sometimes interns might be, I don't want to say afraid to approach us, but think we're too busy to be approached. That's not the case. We're very normal, humble people, and we like to be greeted as well. So pop in and say hello and goodbye. And then 3rd, do your homework. Read the memos, read the CRS reports, read the things that's lying around your office. I can't tell you how much people notice when they think you know what you're talking about, and it really comes to the very basic things that you probably have time for right now. So dig into your CRS bank, see what your member or your organization is working on, and try to learn a little bit more about it. So those are my 3 pieces of advice. Please, in about 5 years, come find me if any of them work for you. But with that, I just want to close by saying, on behalf of Comcast NBCU, thank you, Christine, AAPI, and to all the other co-hosts and sponsors. This is one of my favorite events each year because it amazes me how it continues to grow each year. So don't be shy, say hello to us, come talk to us, and let us know how we can support you. All right, have a good night, have a good